of the world, now I'm living. And the good just gets better, keeps on giving. Not even close to the end, it's just beginning. Life is getting lighter while the days are getting brighter, yeah.
Hi, it's Ann Perry, and today's topic of conversation is going to be about what does the master number 22-4 really mean. We're going to be talking about the unique lessons behind the double 2 energy, which equates back to the 4. So I thought it might be interesting to explore this master number as we've been looking a lot at the 11 energy. So today's topic is going to be looking at the 22 energy, our next master number in line. So let's go. Okay, so before we pursue this any further, I just want to make sure that everybody understands correctly how to calculate their life path number. There's all kinds of theories out there as to how to do it, but if you're wondering and you're sitting on the fence and you're really not sure as to whether you are a 22-4 or not, I would really encourage you to put me on hold just for a sec, skip on over to my YouTube video, which is called How to Calculate Your Life Path Number Correctly, and then come back and join us. And that way you can be absolutely assured that the information I'm giving you today is correct. Okay, so what exactly is a master number after all? Well, a lot of people have asked me that question. A lot of people have misunderstood the answer too. So I'm going to try and make that really, really clear. So a master number is simply always a double number. So for example, a master number could be 11, 22, 33, 44, etc., etc. So it's always double numbers that add up to a single number. So the 11 would add to the 2, the 22 would add to the 4, 33 adds to 6, and so on and so forth. Master numbers are only given to people who are very old souls. These are people who have lived through many, many lifetimes, and this gives them the opportunity to explore their masters in this lifetime. So you have to qualify. It's not that different than having to do your bachelor's degree prior to applying for your master's at a university. You have to have had enough education and experience with which to be granted the opportunity to do your master's program. So it is given to people who have been around the block a few times. And so, you know, those of you who are master numbers, whether you're 11s, 22s, 33s, doesn't matter, you have lots of cellular memory that's floating around within you that causes you to remember your experiences from previous lifetimes. And I'm not saying that you're tuning into, oh, you know, one time I was a knight in shining armor. You know, it's not like that. It's more to do with a knowingness. You know, your parents might have said, you know, how do you know this stuff? You know, you're just such a mature little soul for such a little person. Why do you know all this? And they might have treated you even a little differently. They might have expected a bit more from you because you just have that old soul energy about you, and that comes from all of this energy that exists within you that is accumulated as a result of previous lifetimes. But that energy from the previous lifetime is what guides you in this lifetime. So if you have a master number of 11, or in this case we're talking about the 22, it's the double intensity of that number. So in this case, it's the double intensity of the 2 energy. So a contract has been established before you enter into this lifetime. You agreed to this, believe it or not, you know, even as tough as it is. And I know that it can be a really tough experience being a master number. I get that. I totally understand that. But it doesn't have to be that hard. I'm going to try and demystify it for you a little bit so that your journey will be a little bit easier. I'm a little tired of the videos that are out there that are scare, you know, tactics and fear mongering and, you know, all that. There's no dark side to a master number, you know. You're just a little bit more senior, a little bit more advanced. You have a little bit more cellular memory than the rest of us do. But the reality of it is you did sign a contract. You did agree to come and pursue your masters in this lifetime. So that makes it a little bit different. You know, when I was researching my information for this video, I went looking for famous people who have 22-4 life path numbers, and one of the first ones that came up was Will Smith. And I don't know a whole lot about Will Smith, but I do enjoy his movies. But I thought, okay, I'm going to check you out a little bit further. And I found he's got all these websites that have his quotes. He's got all kinds of crazy quotes, and they're awesome. They're really worth looking up. Very powerful, very positive, you know. And one of the ones that really struck me, he says, fear is not real. It's a product of the thoughts you create. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. Just, you know, let the balloons drop. I was really touched by that one. Because you know what? It's true, right? I mean, fear is a choice. Fear is a choice. If you choose to face your life with fear, you're choosing to be fearful, right? Nobody can make you fearful unless you choose that emotion. So That's all part of him being a master number, a master builder, a master energy 22-4. That's sort of that's obviously a message that he totally believes and lives by, or he wouldn't have advanced as clearly as far as he has. So I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at him from a different perspective too. There's some interesting observations I saw within his birth name as well as his name on his birth certificate, or sorry, his date of birth. First of all, we look over here, and he was born September 25th of 1968. So we already know, because we're talking about it, that his life path number is a 22-4. How do we know that? Because what we do is we break down each component of the date of birth individually, and that's all related to the video I just suggested that you go watch. So September in this case would come down as a 9. The 25th would come down as a 7, because 2 and 5 are 7. And 1968, when we add that together, it's 1 plus 9 is 10. Plus 6 is 16, plus 8 is 24. So when we add the 24 together, it comes as a 6. So now we add 9 plus 7 plus 6, and that equals 22. So interestingly enough, he's a 22-4 life path number. Now, the first letter of his birth name is a W. Now, when we look at it numerologically, the W vibrates at the number 5. Okay, the 5 is all about change. The 5 is all about unexpected events. The 5 is about flexibility and adaptability and not being afraid to shine, right? Well, I think we can all see that that was exactly the case with Will's career. Also, the fact that he was born on the 25th day, again, when we add the 2 and the 5 together, it comes to 7, and the 7 is the spiritual teacher. And I started thinking about the movies that he'd done that had personally touched me, and one of them, of course, was, I wrote them all down here, I Am Legend. Of course, that was pretty amazing. Right out there, but it was pretty amazing. And In Pursuit of Happiness. Oh my God, that was an amazing movie. Independence Day. I mean, every movie he's ever done has been a real message. There's been a real humanitarian message attached to it. The other observation that I made with Will was the fact that he started out as a rap singer. And when he started out as a rap singer, he was like 16, 17 years old. And at that time, there were only 2 or 3 different bands that were coming out with rap music. And they were all kind of dark. They were all like every parent's worst nightmare when they first came out like 20 years ago or whatever it was now. But Will changed that. He decided, he came from Philadelphia. He was raised a sort of middle-class home, an upbringing. He went to a Catholic school, even though his family was Baptist. And so you know what? He chose not to be the bad boy. He chose to kind of write rap songs about growing up as a teenager and real life situations and stuff. And he really changed the way rap was being delivered. And I think, if I'm correct, he won the first platinum record for rap music. So he certainly made an impact in that regard. So it's pretty cool. All right, so let's talk about what actually makes the 22-4 number so unique, because it really is quite a unique number. The 22-4 master number is all about mastering the number of the 2, because there's double 2s there. And the 2 is all about cooperation and balance. When we think of the number 2, we think of duality. 1 and 1 makes 2. So 1 and 1 makes 2, right? Okay, I'm the numerologist. I should know more about numbers. I get it. Anyway, you get it. 1 and 1 makes 2, and we got 2 2s, which make a 4. And it's simple math here, or I wouldn't be doing it. So we're working around lessons around stability and about process. That's the 4 energy. So that's the goal, if you will. Anytime we're looking at a life purpose number, it's all about the lessons that we've chosen to learn. But when we want to know how are we going to be that 4, in his case, he had to master the energy of the 2. Okay? So from what I understand a little bit, I read about him. He was quite a charmer, and that's how he was named, the Prince. That was where he first came out with as the Prince. Because he could charm his way out of anything anytime he got himself into trouble. So he would have had to have very good communication skills one-on-one, which again was part of that number 2. So people who are, I should back this up a little bit too to explain that, there's different ways to be a 4. Right? In this case, we're talking about the 22-4, which is the master number, has a whole different vibration to it. But he could have been a 13-4, and he would have had to learn the lessons around the 1 and the 3 that make up the 4. Okay? So the 1 would have been creative confidence. Well, he doesn't have to worry about that. He's got that, right? We know that he's creatively confident. the 3 would have been creative expression. Well, hell, there's nobody more creatively expressive than Will Smith, right? But at the end of the day, a 13-4 is a 4 and a 22-4 is a 4, right? So the ultimate goal in the end is to be a 4. Just to give you that example, right? There's different ways to be a 4. So, but those on the life path of the 22-4 are here to learn to work through issues around cooperation, playing nice in the sandbox, you know, being a great partner, and issues related to responsibility. And they're here to learn that it takes a lot of patience. The 2 energy is all about learning patience. So he's got to have double patience, because you know what? At the end of the day, he's a master builder. He has things to do. He knows that when he comes into the earth plane, and this time around, he knows that he's meant to do something amazing, but he's got to be patient while he creates this amazing effort that he's trying to create. So double patience is really important. Double determination. They need this in order to be able to achieve their goals while providing a really solid foundation in their lives. When you think of the 4, and I'm saying it again, 4 posts into the ground create what? A foundation. That's right. Creates a foundation. So he really likes to create foundations in his life. His home is important to him. Where he lives, what he provides for his kids, all that kind of thing. Having money in the bank is important to him. Being able to help out humanity and to have the resources with which to do that, really important to him. So 22-4s are also here to learn that a cooperative approach with a healthy dose of teamwork is the recipe for success. Rome was not built in a day, nor was it built by one man alone, right? It takes a lot of people. It takes community, right, to build a community. So he has to learn how to employ the help of other people and being very patient while he does that. So it's a cooperative process. And again, the master number of the 22-4 is often referred to as the master builder. What's kind of unique about the 22-4 is that 22-4s, they have been 11s in a previous lifetime. So the 11s are the ones that have the inspired message, right? They're the ones that want to deliver a very powerful message while they're here to inspire and empower people. But they're way up here, right? They get all their information as a download kind of thing. So the 22-4s, these guys have already been through that. It's part of their educational process before they get here. They've already been there. They've done that. So they've got the ideas. But this time, they're taking the ideas and they're putting it into practical form. Okay, so they're able to actually create something solid with regards to their ideas. Where the 11s have the ideas, but they don't always, not grounded enough necessarily, unless there's other 4 energy in their chart. They're quite often, they're not grounded enough to make something of that. So they get really frustrated because they have all these great ideas, but they don't know how to execute them. The 22-4s, they know how to execute them, but they really battle with the fact that they don't feel up to the task. That's so common with people who are 22-4s. They just don't feel good enough. So what are the lessons within the 2 energy? Well, learning to be cooperative, as we talked about, without being overly cooperative. Oh my God, I see this so often, you guys. You know, you want to cooperate, you want to be there for everybody, but you overdo it and you get to the point where you resent it, right? You resent it because you feel like, oh, you know, I should be doing it because they expect me to do it. You need to get in touch with what your expectations are for you, rather than always trying to aim at satisfying everybody else's expectations for you. Worry is a big thing for 4s. They tend to worry an awful lot. 22-4s have an incredible ability to focus, but we tend to focus a little bit too much on what isn't complete. I don't have enough time. I don't have the energy. Don't have the money. Don't have the support. And it goes on and on and on. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that so long as you're saying, well, I don't have enough of this, then you really don't ever have to accomplish anything, do you? Right? If you keep telling everybody, well, I don't have enough of that, then you can't. You know, it gives you reason to say, well, that's why I couldn't do this, right? Yeah, but you signed a contract that said you were going to come and do something. So you got to quit focusing on what you haven't got. Start focusing on what you do have. I always talk about the foundation, you know, if you only have 15 bricks, you could focus on those 15 bricks and say, you know what, this isn't going to work. I don't have enough bricks to build that foundation. Well, I guess if that's what you believe, I guess that's the case. You don't have enough bricks. But you could look at those bricks and go, hey, great, I got 15 bricks. I got a good start on that. That's awesome. Because anything we give our energy, attention, and focus to gets what? What? That's right. Gets bigger, right? So you need to take that wonderful ability to focus and focus on the good stuff, right? Focus on the good stuff. Learn the value of step-by-step approach without taking shortcuts. So important. Okay, you got to focus on the details and understand that it's going to take slow and steady wins the race kind of approach to get anything done. Learn to understand that your failures and your setbacks are simply lessons, right? And they're awesome because they're right there in front of you. You can learn from it and don't make that mistake again, right? It's pretty simple. But the fact, sometimes the fours, they're so gung-ho about getting it right. They're so gung-ho about being right. They're so gung-ho about being solid and, determined, and oak trees, you're not very flexible like a willow tree can be. And you get a little too hung up in, this is my way, this is the way it has to be done kind of thing. And so you tend not to look at your setbacks or your failures or whatever. And you miss the lesson in it. So there's lots of clues on where you can improve your life if you just review your life a little bit more closely. And learn to harmonize your inner life before trying to control your environment. So what do I mean by that? Learning to be in alignment with what you want rather than what everybody thinks that you should do or thinks that you should have. People recognize you as the old soul who's really confident and really capable, and so, Johnny, you're just so much more capable than what you're doing, and you should be going to med school, and you should be going to lawyers, going to law school, that kind of thing. But maybe that's not your dream. Just because you emanate that, just because you vibrate that, just because you make people feel comfortable that you're solid and that you're grounded and that you're practical and you can do anything, doesn't mean to say that you have to do what they think you should do. Okay? So getting in alignment with what you really want is really important before you can start executing change in your environment. You need to remember that 22/4s can achieve anything if they approach their life methodically. Plan. It's really important for you guys to have a plan. So what are the lessons within the 4 energy? Well, double 2s equal double the need for cooperative balance, patience, need to be a team player, need to be very, very focused, resisting the temptation to ignore other people's opinions. You guys can be real hard asses. Let me just put it out there. You can be a real hard ass and ignore the opinions of other people. And I don't know if that's a fear of failure, a fear of being discovered, that you don't have all the answers, or what's going on with that. But I know that a lot of people with the 22/4 energy, they really, really resist the opinion of other people or the suggestions or the offer of help, that sort of thing. So you need to learn to be maybe a little bit more flexible, a little bit more adaptable. Instead of having those blinders on all the time, you need to kind of open up the blinders and be able to look around a little bit better. Resist the temptation to use your hypersensitivity as a weapon of defense. Okay. So when I say that, I'm talking about don't be pulling the drama queen card. Okay. Just because you're overly sensitive, maybe overly is not the right word. You are very sensitive. You're extremely sensitive. Doesn't make it overly, doesn't make it, that implies that it's wrong. It's not wrong. It's just the fact that you are more sensitive than a lot of other energies out there. So you take offense to things more easily. People can hurt your feelings more easily. But you don't want to use that as a weapon to drive people away, right? So you need to resist that temptation to use your sensitivity as a weapon. Avoid acting on impulse. Impulse will always backfire. It will blow up in your face every time. You need to plan, okay? You need to recognize that you're a master builder, and a master builder has blueprints, and that's how they're successful. You need a blueprint for your life. So tips for living on the 22/4 life path. Be your own best friend by embracing all the positive sides of who you are. Focus on the good that you've done. Focus on the talents that you have. Focus on what a great person you are. Look at the positive sides of who you are. The 4 energy can get really hung up on living in a half-empty cup. Living with a half-empty cup mentality drives me crazy. It's that victim mentality. You can't build everything, or anything for that matter, if you keep focusing on the negative side of who you are and where you're not. Remain open to feedback from friends. We talked about that already. Try incorporating yoga into your daily routine. Why would I say yoga? Because yoga allows for flexibility, not only of the body, but of the mind and of the spirit too. It's really true. If you can allow your body to become more flexible, your mind becomes automatically more flexible. That's important for you. I want you to check in several times a day to see what areas that you're resisting in terms of change. If somebody suggests, moving, or maybe they're looking to promote you into a different job or whatever. How do you feel about that? Tune into how you feel about that. Are you resisting it? And if you're resisting it, why? What is it that you're afraid of? And you need to ask yourself, tune yourself in. What is it I'm afraid of? Why do I keep resisting this? What is it that causes me to get angry? Because we know that anger is fear. Fear is anger, anger is fear. We talk about the mother bear. You come across the mother bear in the woods and she's got her baby cubs around her, and you walk up to her. What does she do? Well, she gets up big and ugly, right? Well, why does she get up big and ugly, right? Is she angry? She looks angry. Is she angry? Hell no, she's not angry. She's scared, right? So every time you get up big and ugly and you resist people's opinions and their help and whatnot, you got to stop and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Why is it I can't accept that help? What is it about that, right? I promise you'll learn volumes about yourself if you pause long enough to ask yourself that question. So check in every time, several times a day. See how you're feeling. Develop a plan for your life. You need structure. The 4s need structure. They can't be on 3 legs. They have to have 4 posts in the ground, right? So you need a plan to create that foundation. So that can be involving a day planner. Put a calendar up on your wall. God knows I've got enough of them around me. Collecting check marks, right? I love to have to-do lists, and I check them off every day, and I just feel like I've accomplished something. Things like that. Being really focused on all that you have achieved rather than what you have not is really important. Setting realistic, measurable goals for yourself. Do not set that bar sky freaking high. Because you know what happens? You set it up so high based on the fact you've got all this cellular memory that says, I've been there, I've done that, I got this, right? I'm not saying you don't have this, but I am saying that quite often you'll set a bar way too high, and then when you get kind of close to it, you decide, oh, I don't have all the information, it's not perfect. What if this isn't exactly what I'm supposed to be doing? Bam, you bounce that bar. And so you kind of self-sabotage yourself, right? And you come down and you crash and you burn. It doesn't have to be that way, right? Just understanding that everything for you should be more of a step-by-step process, okay? That's how you think. That's what keeps you safe. When you get up in the morning, you like to know what's going on. You don't really cope particularly well with change, right? When you get up in the morning, you like to know that you have to be at this place at this time, and you need to be at that place at this time, and you need to be accountable and all that kind of stuff. But just set a realistic, measurable goals for yourself. Set up a day timer, set up a plan for yourself, and do what makes you feel good rather than what other people expect of you. That is so key. So key for you guys, getting in touch with what it is you want to do. So food for thought, I want you to ask yourself, are your decisions that you make based upon what is good for you, or are they based on what you think you're supposed to be doing? Something to think about. Do you feel good about what you do for others, or do you feel resentful? Do you resist setting goals from a fear of failure? What methods have you put into place to ensure your success? You guys are great at blaming the world for your lack of success, but what are you doing to ensure your success? Because there's nobody more capable of being successful. Honestly, nobody more capable of being successful than you guys with the 22 4s. Where do you resist change in your life? Where does it make you feel uncomfortable when people are asking you to change? And who are you comparing yourself to, right? Who are you comparing yourself to? You only have one you, and you only have today. And today is the only day that you can make a difference, because we don't know if we have tomorrow, right? So it's baby steps. It's not a big, what you have to accomplish in this lifetime is not a big certificate at the end of the road. It's not. It's more about what you can contribute on a humanitarian level to make life a little easier, a little bit, that you can inspire people, that you can help create some kind of foundation which will improve the lot in life of a lot of people. Sounds like a big lofty goal, doesn't it? But you know what? It can be as simple as making sure that buddy on the street who's homeless has a sandwich even once a week. If you could just make a difference for him maybe once a week. That's part of your purpose, right? Your purpose begins every single day when you get up and put your feet on the floor. That's when your purpose starts. Your purpose doesn't start once you get that huge certificate, diploma, educational degree, whatever. That's not when it starts. It starts the moment you're born, actually, right? And I will say that the master numbers, they tend to take a little bit of time before they mature into what they're supposed to be doing. But don't waste a whole lot of time saying, well, I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing. Just pick something and do it, right? Do it today, because you don't know. You sign a contract, but you don't know how long you're going to be here for, right? So you can't wait until you think it's absolutely perfect to start something. Just start something today. Make a difference in somebody's life. Help to make somebody else's foundation a little bit better. You don't have to give money. If you don't have money, you don't have to give money. You can give time. You can give energy. You can give prayer. You can give, volunteer. You can do whatever. But it's about assisting humanity in some way that will help them to create a foundation for themselves too. Now, I also wanted to point out that I did a video not that long ago. It's called Life Path Number 4. Are you wearing a victim t-shirt? Okay. So this is all about the 4 energy, and it relates to 31-4, 13-4s, that sort of thing. I don't talk about the 22-4 in that video, but the energy of the 4 would be really relevant to you. So you might want to skip over there and watch that video as well, because it'll give you a lot more information on how to really embrace your life path number instead of being burdened by it, as I know a lot of you do feel. So that's it. I thank you so much for spending time with me today. I really, really appreciate it. I love hearing from you guys. I gotta tell you, I probably spend 2 hours a day just responding to your questions and whatnot on YouTube, because that is what motivates me. I love to know how my videos are affecting you. If you have questions at all in any way, please let me know. Obviously, I'm a professional numerologist, so I do offer readings, and I quite often have specials and whatnot on my website. So go on over to AnnPerryNumerologist.com. You can check that out. Follow me on Facebook. I do a post every single day relevant to numerology. And of course, I have the YouTube channel, and I sure hope that you'll subscribe. So if there's anything I can do for you, if there's anything you'd like for me to cover that I haven't covered, love to hear from you. That's it for today, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye now.